Hey everybody, welcome to Autism Awakening, the podcast that helps you help your child with autism. My name is Dr. Jared Skowron, and I've been a biomedical autism doc for 20 years, and we are in the middle of the beginning of a mini-series podcast. And this mini-series we're kind of starting in 2024, and what I want to do is walk everybody through all of the medical aspects of autism. Okay, so if you're kind of new to your autism journey, welcome aboard. Thanks for watching. You've got to understand autism is a medical condition. So that's how we're going to treat it. Autism is not a child's choice. Autism is not parenting mistakes. Autism is a medical condition, and we need to treat it medically to help our children do as well as they can. So, again, like I mentioned, we're in the middle of this podcast mini-series where I want to kind of put it all together for you. So if you haven't seen the past podcasts, go back and watch them. What we covered in the first two podcast episodes for 2024 was why our children get autism. All right. And that either comes down to about a third of our kids and about 45% of girls have a genetic abnormality that they are born with that causes their developmental delays. Okay? Now, we didn't get into the reason why we're seeing more and more of these genetic conditions. It actually has to do with toxicity in our world, and toxicity will change your DNA for your offspring. And that's why there's more of these genetic conditions that are kind of popping up. But honestly, a lot of families are unaware that their children may have these because they never test. Okay, and they never test because their pediatrician doesn't encourage them to. But trust me, many of these genetic issues are treatable. We covered that in our first episode podcast of this mini-series in 2024. Last week, we got into the other cause of autism, which describes regressive autism. Now, regressive autism is the big elephant in the room for what tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of parents have seen say, hey, my child was looking at me and talking and saying mama and dada and some other words, and then it all disappeared. Okay, so we talked in our last podcast about how that happens, why that happens. In my opinion, it's a combination of a blood-brain barrier, which is our protective wall around the brain, that starts to disintegrate, and that's disintegrated with acetaminophen or paracetamol, and then either live infections, especially viruses, live viruses and or toxins can get in the brain, interfering with brain development. Okay, so if you're interested in those podcasts, go back and watch them. What we're going to get into today is past the why, what happens with our kids, and how does those changes with our kids, how do they create the symptoms that we're concerned about? Okay, Chrissy says, oh gosh, Chrissy, I haven't seen you in forever. I hope you guys are doing well. And Chrissy just says, thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. Hey, I love doing this. This is my work. What I need you guys to do is spread the word. There's too many other families out there who have kids with autism that don't know what to do. And we're walking you guys through that. So, and this is in addition to therapies. Yeah, everybody goes to therapies if you can find them, if you get through the waiting list, but there's other stuff to do now. So where we're going to go with the rest of this podcast mini-series is getting into how that why changes into healing your children and what goes on medically, what medically causes the different symptoms, and how we can improve it. Okay, quick answer for Tracy. Can the blood-brain barrier repair? Yes, with glutathione. Okay, glutathione is the way to repair the blood-brain barrier, Tracy. All right, I'll get to as many live questions as I can after we discuss our topic. So the topic today is going to be our first topic of how we get the symptoms of autism. We talked about the why, and now we're going to get into the how. All right? And the first how, and there's going to be many, many different podcast episodes about the how, but because there are so many different medical parts, we're going to start with the brain. All right? And we're going to start with the brain because autism is more of a neurological condition than anything else. Okay? It does involve the gastrointestinal system and the endocrine system and the mitochondrial system and detoxification. All these different parts of the body are involved, but the brain is number one because that's where the developmental delays are occurring. We're getting the developmental delays mostly in language and in social interactions and in engagement. And yeah, we've got other issues like muscle tone issues, et cetera, but the primary symptoms that we're worried about are controlled by the brain. The language, the behavior, the sleep, the cognition, the processing, all about the brain. All right. Now, what happens in the brain and with autism, and therefore, how can we help? okay? Because the understanding the why always gives us the, well, what do we do about it? So let's get into that. How is this happening? Why is this happening? So let's start with those two whys, okay? Again, either you're born with a genetic issue or you've got some kind of inflammatory insult that occurs as a regression, all right? And what happens with those is that either the inflammation from the regression or the genetics, not all the genetics, but most of the genetics, are going to impair brain chemical systems, okay? Our brain runs on different chemicals, period. All right, it runs on things that you've heard of, like serotonin and adrenaline and perhaps dopamine, and then other things you may not have heard of, like GABA and glutamate and PEA, and there's many of them. Okay, even histamine. Histamine, that allergy chemical, acts as a neurotransmitter, acts as a brain chemical causing hyperactivity and stimulation. So there's a lot of these neurochemicals or brain chemicals or neurotransmitters, those are all kind of interchangeable words, that are off in our kids with autism and are creating and primarily causing the abnormalities of the developments that we're concerned about. Okay, and that's the language, the behavior, the sleep, the cognition, those kind of things. There are other things we're concerned about with autism in our kids, and we're going to get to those. Okay, we're going to start with those, and especially because I know when I talk to my patients, and I've got to for those of you who are new, I've got a telemedicine practice, so I can help any of you who are interested on your computer, on your phone, over Zoom, and most every patient and most every family says, we want more speech. We want more language. We want to know what they're thinking. We want to know if they're happy. We want to know if they're in pain. And we also know that they get frustrated and temperamental when they're trying to communicate with us but can't. Okay? And that's a good place to be. If you're a child, I would much rather have a child who is trying to communicate his desires. And I say his because autism is primarily boys, but it means for both. So your child's trying to communicate but can't get their wants across, and they get pissed off. And they get pissed off and temperamental. That is great. I would much rather have that than a child who wants something but doesn't understand how to communicate those wants and needs. And Chrissy, you are so sweet. Chrissy just said he's the best everyone. You'll never regret scheduling to see him. Thank you, Chrissy. I appreciate that. Like I said, I love what I do. I want to help as many kids as possible. So let's get into this brain chemistry and what's different with our kids and what we can do about it, okay? And what I want to focus on are these things. So I kind of printed it out. Number one, we're going to be talking about glutamate. We're going to be talking about serotonin. We're going to be talking about folinic acid, and we're going to be talking about dopamine, okay? Now, let's kind of get into those with the science. We'll kind of jump right in. But again, what matters is we're balancing those brain chemicals. And as we get into the treatment of them, okay, and how to support them naturally, it's you are what you eat. Period. You are what you eat. I mean, you remember that little cartoon back in the 80s with the guy with the hat? I don't even know what he was. Anyway, his 5-gallon hat was good. His 10-gallon hat was going 5 gallons flat. So you are what you eat. And that always amazes me, okay? Because we're talking about the neurotransmitters in my brain. We're talking about my thoughts. We're talking about my emotions. And we're talking about my bones and my hormones and my thyroid. And everything is made of our food, okay? We put food in the mouth, proteins, vitamins, minerals, fats, carbs. I breathe air. I drink water. And that makes me run. I mean, that's amazing. So this is the same thing with brain chemistry and neurotransmitters, all right? All these chemicals, serotonin, adrenaline, dopamine, they are made from the foods we eat, period, okay? They're mostly made of specific proteins and specific vitamins, and that's how we create natural therapeutics to support normal brain chemical levels, okay? What we do is we know, hey, if you're low in serotonin, I know what ingredients make serotonin, and we can increase that in your body. All right, so we're going to lower our glutamate, we're going to increase our serotonin, we're going to add folinic acid, we're going to increase our dopamine. So let's get into all of those things one at a time. Let's talk about glutamate first, all right? And trust me, there's a rhyme to my reason. The role of glutamate in autism and glutamate receptor antagonists in treatment. So glutamate is the major excitatory neurotransmitter in the brain, all right? I just wanted to start out with that in this research study. Because there's not any other kind of great taglines in this study. But glutamate, okay? And you may be familiar with glutamate from MSG. Okay, MSG is that salty tasting seasoning spice that's normally in Chinese food. It's really stimulating. It is the most stimulating chemical in the brain, is glutamate. Okay, so again, monosodium glutamate, MSG. That's a very common food source of glutamate. But glutamate's going to be in every protein you eat, and it's very stimulating. Now, a lot of our kids have too much stimulation. They are too hyperactive. They don't sleep. They are running around everywhere. They have a lot of glutamate, okay? And we need to bring that down. Now, glutamate, the most stimulating, kind of pairs off with its seesaw friend GABA, okay? So glutamate, the most stimulating. GABA is another brain chemical that is the most sedating. It's the most calming. It's the most relaxing. Okay? There's even pharmaceuticals that activate GABA receptors, and those are your anti-anxiety meds like Ativan and lorazepam and your benzodiazepines. Okay? Even a lot of seizure medications are working and pushing GABA in the brain. Okay? So again, glutamate, really stimulating. GABA, really sedating and calming. All right? And I bring that up because of many research studies, including this one, talking about glutamate and GABA on brain excitatory and inhibitory balance. We got a lot of nice tag words here. Geez, I can't read too close, can I? Hold on. Aha! Remember my cheaters. I'm turning 50 next month. I gotta have these in every room. Here we go. All right. Oh, this is heaven. An optimally functional brain requires both excitatory and inhibitory inputs that are regulated and balanced. Okay? Disorders of development, such as autism spectrum disorder, lead to dysfunctional signaling resulting in impaired cognitive and motor function. GABA and glutamate, okay, are part of the discussion of the importance that their transport systems in the maintenance of excitatory and inhibitory balance. So, again, I bring up this research study because it talks about glutamate's really stimulating, GABA's very sedating. There needs to be balance, but we know the balance of these is involved with autism and results in impaired cognitive and motor function when they are off. Okay? So what we usually want to do in autism is drop that glutamate and up that GABA. What's really interesting, and I always find how the body has been engineered or just how Darwin came to be, is that glutamate and GABA can turn into each other. They can convert, okay? It's for you Star Wars fans, it's the light side and the dark side of the Force, okay? Glutamate can become GABA, GABA can become glutamate, which is really intriguing. This is part of how a well-functioning brain balances itself, all right? We also have other studies that say, hey, glutamate levels in autism, and we know that these studies revealed higher glutamate levels in autism compared to normal controls. We just see more glutamate. We see more excitement in there. I'm going to quickly stop and answer Omo's question. Omo said, can we test for brain chemistry? Yes, you can. It is a simple test. It is a urine test, and you can get some of them done through local labs through your insurance. That's what I do for my telemedicine patients. We'll just order urine tests through your local lab. There are other companies that will test more variety of neurotransmitters and brain chemicals, but it's a simple urine test. Okay. Now, part of the reason that glutamate is high and other excitatory chemicals like adrenaline. Adrenaline is often high in our kids, and that is associated with a gene called MAO. All right, so for those of you who are into genetics and genomics and polymorphisms, this study says aggression to autism, monoamine oxidase deficiency. And we're looking at this gene called MAOA. MAOA deficiency was first described as a disorder with overt antisocial and aggressive conduct. Okay? Additional behavior abnormalities mimic the core symptoms of autism when you have an MAOA deficiency. So let me explain. MAOA is a gene that controls the removal of these stimulating brain chemicals, okay, especially adrenaline. So we want to make sure that our glutamate levels are low, and we want to make sure that this MAOA activity is functioning, so we can bring down the neurological excitement. Okay. All right. So that's step one. Step one is lower glutamate and activate this MAOA gene so you can stay calm. All right. And I formulated a supplement for this. Many of you are probably familiar with it, who've been around Spectrum Awakening for a while. But I formulated this for those kids who were B vitamin sensitive. So B vitamins, especially B12, and different forms of folinic acid, methylfolate, are very common supplements given to kids with autism. However, at least 50% of kids get hyperactive side effects from them, okay? Whether that's aggression, whether that's hyperactivity, whether that's sleep problems, from the B vitamins. You're doing B12 shots, you're giving B vitamins orally, you may notice your kids get really hyper angry or sleepless on them, okay? This is because B vitamins are going to increase the production of many brain chemicals, including adrenaline, okay? And if you've got this MAOA gene polymorphism, then you can't get rid of that adrenaline. So this supplement was kind of created because of side effects of others. And this supplement is called anger management. All right. And those of you who are around for a while, are familiar with anger management. We've had it. This is going to decrease the severity of your outbursts. It's going to drop your glutamate. It's got glutamate antagonists as well as improving this MAOA gene enzyme function. All right. In addition to anger management, you could do a couple other things. And where do I have them here? You can take GABA straight up. We've got a chewable GABA tablet. There's other forms of GABA out there. And we also have something called theanine. This is a chewable theanine tablet. And theanine actually blocks glutamate from working in the brain. It's like a bouncer at a club. All right? Pretty cool stuff. So that's step one to balancing that brain chemistry. Now, where were we next in brain chemistry? All right, we lowered our glutamate. Next is increasing serotonin. Why? Okay? We're all familiar with serotonin when it comes to our mood. Serotonin, anxiety, depression, got it. Okay? Hey, quick shout out to Karen. Karen says, love anger management. I'm glad it works for you, Karen. Okay? It doesn't work for everybody, but you got to try it. So I'm so glad, Karen, it's working for you guys. All right. Serotonin, we all know, help with depression and anxiety. And frankly, a lot of our kids, if not most of our kids, have massive amounts of anxiety. Okay? Maybe depression as well. We know serotonin is also involved in the production of melatonin and therefore sleep. But what a lot of people don't know is serotonin is essential for hearing, language, and speaking. So I find serotonin treatments, not the pharmaceuticals, because they work differently than the natural stuff. But the serotonin natural supplements can be great for all those things. So here we go with the science. All right. Solitude and serotonin, hearing loss and social isolation. Deficits in both acoustic and social inputs are seen not only within the auditory system, but also in the other brain regions, suggesting extensive effects of the deficits of the serotonin system. Serotonin plays a role in depression and anxiety, but may also influence several aspects of auditory cognition, including auditory attention and understanding speech in challenging listening conditions. Pretty cool stuff, okay? I'm sure my mother would have loved to give me more serotonin because I was always not listening. All right. Here we have talk about serotonin genes and accurate speech encoding. This doesn't get into levels of serotonin, but has to do with serotonin genetics and how that affects with speech, period. Okay? So I only have those two research studies on serotonin and autism and language. There are others which I didn't print out. Rodney says he lost me. I hope everybody's still got connection. All right. So make sure you've got some kind of serotonin supplement. So we have one called Super Serotonin Support. Great stuff, okay? Diane said Super Serotonin saved my son. Kim says serotonin works for our boy. I love that you guys, I love that it's working for you guys, okay? And I have some patients who say, yeah, I didn't do the serotonin because my kid sleeps fine, all right? Don't not try it. Okay, trust me, the amount of mood improvements and or language improvements you'll get after a month can be great. Okay? Again, this stuff doesn't work for everybody, but it's worth trying. And don't throw the baby out with the bathwater because you think your child doesn't need it. All right. Next, what did we have? We lowered the glutamate, we increased the serotonin. Now it's time to add folinic acid. Now, many of you, if you've been in the autism world, are familiar with folinic acid and the pharmaceutical form leucovorin. Now, I like the vitamin form better than the pharmaceutical form for two reasons. Number one, many forms of leucovorin contain gluten or dairy, and you can get it compounded without. But, leucovorin is the same thing as folinic acid. What we've done is we've created a folinic acid formula that gets absorbed better. Okay? And so that's That's why we've created this really special formula. What I did is I contacted a PhD at Cornell, whose her life work, Martha Smith, Martha Evans, something. Her life work is folate, okay, and how folate works. And the biggest problem with folate isn't getting it into the mouth, but it's getting absorbed into the body and into the brain. And you need other nutrients and other cofactors to make that happen. So that's where we've developed a really great formula, and I'll just show you the formula and then I'll show you the research. This is our formula called superfolinic acid. So it's not just folinic acid, it has other cofactors which will improve absorption into the body and into the brain. So why would I want folinic acid? Well, let's try this. Folate deficiency is found in low functioning autism, okay? Specifically cerebral folate deficiency. That's folate deficiency in the brain. Let me pause here. What I see a lot in our kids, and this is why I really want to bring you not just science, but my clinical experience. So again, for those of you new to Spectrum Awakening, I've been an autism biomedical MAPS doc for 20 years, and you see a lot of things clinically, and you want to add that to the science. Okay, you want a little bit of both. So what I've noticed is that the brain folate levels are going to be lower. That's based on the science. I'm not doing spinal taps on kids. But the blood level is high. So if you get a blood test and your folate levels are high, and high is normally over 24, I see a lot of people say, well, I don't need it. I don't need it because it's in my blood, okay? It's true that it's in your blood, but you may need more because it's not in the brain. And again, there's no way to really confirm that without a spinal tap, and we're not doing that with kids. So my suggestion is try it anyway, period, okay? Next, we got great studies on folinic acid here, and live shout out to Dr. Fry. If you don't know Richard Fry, he's an autism scientist, and he's done amazing research on folinic acid. So shout out to him, and I hope I see him in Texas at the Autism Health Summit. All right, next, here's improving outcome with autism with folate, and this talks about how giving folinic acid to these kids achieve complete recovery in 20% of them. Now, I don't like using the word, hey, we gave kid a vitamin and they had complete recovery. We can make huge improvements in you, and we can help you on your road to recovery. This research study says, hey, boom, full-on complete recovery in 20% of kids. All right? It's too tight. High-dose folinic acid improved in outcomes for autism. All right? Just there. That's what this was. Here's another one. And again, live shout out to Dr. Fry. He was the lead author on this one. Folinic acid improves verbal communication in children with autism. How much clearer do you need to get? How much clearer do you need to show your pediatrician saying, here's a research studies by medical doctors and PhDs that say folinic acid improves my kid's language? Where a lot of pediatricians are saying, hey, all this stuff is hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo, there's no science on it. There is. You may not have seen that science, but that's why I'm here. All right, here's another one talking about folate in autism, and a significant number of children responded to oral folinic acid with overall improvements in speech, language, and social interaction. Okay, and again, this is where you guys need to be on this stuff. What did we see improvements in? This research study giving folinic acid to kids with autism showed improvements in autism symptoms, irritability, I'm sorry, it's too tiny for me to read, irritability, ataxia, pyramidal signs, movement disorders, and epilepsy. All right? All those things just by giving folinic acid. Pretty cool stuff. All right. So let's stop here, regroup, and we'll get on to the fourth one. Again, so far, and Kaisia, I want to make sure I say that name right, Kaisia brings up a great question. Does folinic acid cause kids to be hyper? It can, okay? And it can because it's a B vitamin, and we talked about how about 50% of kids get more hyper, more angry, more sleepless with B vitamins, and folinic acid can be one of them. So yes, that can happen. That's why working with these kids, you can't just do one thing, okay? And that's why we developed anger management. Anger management is going to reduce that hyperactivity that you get with B vitamins such as folinic acid, okay? So the answer to your question, Kaisia, is yeah, but we know how to work with it. And folinic acid is important enough that you should take it, watch the benefits, and then counteract it, okay? Lena just asked the same question. So this is where we put together not just this one thing, all right? It's not just like, oh, hey, I got autism, take folinic acid. You're balancing brain chemistry, so it's a whole process. It's not just like, oh, boom, done, all right? There's this whole process of nurturing your child's brain chemistry throughout. All right, last but not least, increasing dopamine. Okay, why do we want to increase dopamine? Well, dopamine is the major brain chemical for focus and for attention, for concentration, as well as for reward. So if your kids don't seem to give a crap about therapy, even when the therapists offer rewards to them, then they don't have enough dopamine. Dopamine brings that reward sensation. All right? Live shout out to Katie. Katie, haven't seen you in a while. Hope things are going well. Cold up there. Just time of year. All right. So let's get into dopamine. And dopamine, as we talked about, all these things are made from the foods we eat. The serotonin is going to be made from a protein called tryptophan and its metabolite 5-HTP. Dopamine is made from two different amino acids, phenylalanine and tyrosine. Okay? So here's a research study, the amino acid profiles or the protein profiles in blood with autism, plasma concentrations of, that's GABA, okay? Plasma concentrations of GABA, phenylalanine, and tryptophan, okay? That's the one for the hyperactivity. That's the one for dopamine and concentration. That's the one for serotonin and language. Those three were significantly lower in boys with autism, okay? So if you don't have the nutrition, you can't make the brain chemicals. That's why we take them, okay? Here's a research study talking about dopamine and emotional dysregulation in autism. No great taglines in the study, so I just highlighted the title. Two more, and we're done. I know there's a lot of research in this one. Dopamine dysfunction in autism, and this one says precise regulation of synaptic dopamine is required for reward processing and behavioral learning. What's ABA? Behavioral learning. Okay, let's get those dopamine levels up so the child can learn. All right. Last but not least, dopamine in autism and possible use of dopamine agonists in treatment. Okay, and again, nothing more than the title and that one. That's tagline, but it basically talks about how we need to support dopamine in autism to get that focus and concentration. So there's a lot of moving parts here. That's all my research that we've got. There's a lot of moving parts. But again, that's why I want to put it together for you as a concrete summary. Okay? It's not just, hey, I need some leucovorin, I need some folinic acid, and I'll be all right. You need to make sure that these brain chemicals, which are off because of your genetics or because of the inflammation from regression, we need to balance that glutamate that causes hyperactivity. We need to bring that down. We need to increase that serotonin for better mood, for better sleep, for better language. All right? We need folinic acid. It's just too well researched for language in these kids. And we need to make sure dopamine levels are good as well. So we have focus, we have concentration, and we have reward processing. That's going to help with my engagement, and that's going to help make my therapies more effective because the child will always want to perform to get the reward. Okay? And please stop using candy as reward therapists. All right? Can we use something healthier, please? All right. So here's the combo. You want to lower glutamate. You want to increase serotonin, you want to add folinic acid, and you want to increase dopamine. Okay? That's the pattern that you need. And that's going to be the supplements that we've created. And honestly, balancing brain chemistry has been the meat and potatoes of my practice for 20 years. This is where I've seen so many great outcomes for our kids, whether it's language, whether it's behavioral, whether it's sleep, whether it's focus and concentration, because it works for most and it's fast. All right? We need to do other things. We need to support mitochondria. We need to get rid of candida. We need to do detox. But this needs to happen as well. And often, I'm going to soapbox as usual. When I see patients, I'll either see patients who are brand new, say, hey, I've never done this. What do I do? Awesome. I love that. Great. Please. I want to help you. And then I've seen the other side of the coin with like, hey, I've seen 10 docs and you're going to be the best one. You're going to be number 11. So what I find with those patients is we kind of look at everything they've done. and I'm here to fill in the blanks of the puzzle because there's a lot of moving parts. And so I see a lot of autism practitioners out there dealing with the gut, working with diet, working with B12 shots, dealing with, candida, and that's great, but that's all they do. And then we don't get into brain chemistry, we don't get into hormones and mitochondria and detoxification and genetics. So there's a lot to do, and I'm here to guide you through it all. So again, the 4 supplements, and Amanda's got a great question. Anger management is where I would start, and then you add super serotonin support, then you add folinic acid, then you add attention on the double, which I just dropped again. There's attention on the double. Okay, now the reason that those, and Amanda's question is great, which is that's a lot of supplements. Do they take these all at once? It's sometimes you'll be finding yourself with a whole shopping bag of vitamins, all right? And, pros and cons about that. Pros, if it's working, that's great. If it's not working, it's, why are we doing them? And so I tell all my patients, I want you to use what works, but if you're taking a million things and you don't think half of them work, why take them, okay? Take what works, period. All right, so this is a 4 supplement protocol, if you will. All right, I've termed it the Skowron solution, and it's 4 different parts because it's adaptable. All right, and some of those are like, hey, I want more, and just like Lynn just typed. Lynn said, which supplements are for speech? All right, I know you want more language, but I also have to what's the word I'm looking for? Impress that just taking supplements for language might cause other side effects that need to be addressed. That's why we use this whole thing. Okay, that's why we use all these things. So I created these all separately because you can adapt them. So if your child needs a little bit more calming, the anger management is great. If they do really well on folinic acid, you add more folinic acid. If you got bigger problems with emotions or sleep, you add more serotonin. And so it's all adaptable. However, if you just want to take one thing, don't mind me. Can I glue the ring light to the floor? I've created one supplement, and this is the first supplement I ever made, okay, which is Power and Focus. Now, Power and Focus has most all of these as well. Lynn wants to get to the point. She asked me again, which supplement for speech, please, okay? So if you only want to take one thing, and that's all you can do, that's okay, all right? Start with this Power and Focus. If you can do 4, then take those 4. And to answer Lynn's question specifically, the folinic acid works for language for many, many kids, okay? I still encourage you to use all of them. We have folinic acid in our Power and Focus powder, so that's going to help with language there. We've got the serotonin supplements in there. We've got some of the anger management supplements in there. So Power and Focus is kind of all together. What I normally tell my families is those 4 supplements that we walked through, you can do all of them in the morning except for the serotonin supplement because that's going to make you drowsy. So you do that one at night. But combine them all in the morning except for the serotonin. Do that one at night or the Power and Focus in the morning. All right. I want to get to your live questions because there's a lot. But first, coupon of the weekend. Coupon of the weekend is Brain20. Brain20 is going to get you 20% off any of our vitamins, not just these, not just Skowron Solution, any of our vitamins and any of our lab tests. Okay, you want an O test, a stool test, a genetic test. Use Brain20. That's going to expire January 21st, 2024. Not that. January 21st, 2024. If you're interested in a one-on-one telemedicine session, go to our website, spectrumawakening.com, click appointments, set up a time, we can chat. All right, let's get to some live questions. And there's a lot of you guys on here, which I love live, but if you're listening later, again, if you guys are listening after this has been recorded, you can take part in a live podcast recording every Thursday, 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm in between New York City and Boston. Eastern Standard Time, 12:15 Thursdays on our Spectrum Awakening Facebook page. We do take these, we record them, we put them on into podcast world, and then we're going to be starting to put this mini-series onto YouTube. Check out our YouTube channel, Spectrum Awakening YouTube. We had a ban for a bit, but we're back on. I just uploaded our Temple Grandin podcast, so you can watch that there. I also just recorded Honey Rinicella and Tracy Slepcevic, who were involved in the new Spellers movie and the Autism Health Summit in 2 weeks in Texas, which I'll be lecturing at. So a lot of cool things that we're going to be adding onto that YouTube channel, including this mini-series. And I know, hey, there you can see it and such. All right, so live shout out to Tracy. She said hi, and Erica, good to see you again. Jeannie, good to see you again. And Chrissy. Tracy asked about the blood-brain barrier. Jenna, Which supplement to try with a child struggling with impulse control? This is one of my favorites, Jenna. Impulse control has to do with our stress hormone cortisol. Now, we're going to get into that in a future podcast. I want you to try our Temper Tamer supplement or our Temper Tamer 2. I like Temper Tamer better, but it's a capsule, and if you open it up, it tastes like black licorice. It's kind of a love-hate sort of thing. The Temper Tamer 2 does not contain the black licorice. All right. Kay says, hi from Kentucky, snow and cold weather. Yeah, I bet, Kay. Man, it is cold. It is so cold. And we're 20 degrees here today. It's not that bad. But yeah, I'll tell you, the Midwest. I had a couple patients this week from Michigan. Man, it sounds freezing over there. Chrissy says, thank you. We're doing so good. We need to schedule an update with you. Liam is talking now, and without his communication device, thanks to your help and supplements, forever thankful. Chrissy, I love that. I know we've worked with Liam for a while, but this is the message we need to spread to other families. There is hope, okay? Here's somebody, I've been working with them for a while, and their child is talking now without a communication device. And this is the story that needs to be spread, all right? These are the stories that we need to give to other families. You can give another family hope. Jasmine, saw you last week. Good morning. Just wanted to thank you. For the first time in 6 months, Charlie slept through the night after using your super serotonin. This is what I'm talking about, guys. These are the stories that make my life. I mean, hey, this is my life purpose. I've given my life to helping these kids, and I love to hear when it works. So, Jasmine, I just started working with her last week. Or was it 2 weeks ago? My brain. Anyway, their son, Charlie, slept through the night for the first time in 6 months just with this. Okay, just with our super serotonin support. I like it way more than melatonin. You can use both, but I think it works better. Guizar, my kid's speech keeps on varying on day to day. He goes to gestures from sentences and words. He hardly speaks for a few days, and some days his speech explodes. I don't understand what's happening. That sounds like inflammation, okay? And inflammation changes based on what we eat or on an infection in our gut. So, Guizar, if you haven't looked at diet, I want you to do this first. Just journal what your child eats, okay? What did they eat on days that were good? What did they eat on days that were bad? And see if you can figure out what are the good fuel and what's the bad fuel, all right? And if diet's pretty consistent, I think you got a gut infection. I would either try our yeast mold bundle or get a stool test. We've got those stool tests on our website if you want. Live shout out to Diane. Live shout out to Michael. Says, thank you. My nonverbal son tested mitoswab and shows very low in the respiratory chain 4. Would you start with ATP, Mitomax, or Skowron solution, or all three? I would just start with Mitomax first, Michael. In fact, in Mitomax, we've got ATP. So that's one of the reasons I formulated this mitochondrial supplement, because it's got ATP in it as well. I would just do Mitomax for now, and then maybe the Skowron solution, period. Chrissy says she always loves facts. So do I. Another live shout out to Rodney. He's always watching. Kay says, this is so Natalie. I can't tell you and get so frustrated and act out. It happens. Jessie, that's my girl. She's trying to communicate, but the apraxia is hindering expressive speech. 7 years. What's driving that disconnect? Lots of biomed. Very little improvement in speech. All right. So, Jessie, 2 things. Number 1, if you haven't tried our Skowron solution kind of brain chemistry protocol, try it for a month. Try it for a month, see what happens, okay? Don't forget, if you're new to Spectrum Awakening, they have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you try something, your kid doesn't want to take it, it doesn't give you the results you want, you got 30 days, send it back for a refund, okay? Spectrum Awakening would rather you try something and send it back than not try it at all, because there's too many things that can help your kid. Now, I want to go back to this last comment that Jessie made. I've done lots of biomed, but there's very little improvement in speech, okay? Whenever I hear that statement, especially with girls, I want you to get genetic testing done, okay? Because whenever I see a kid that says, geez, I've been doing everything under the sun for 10, 20 years. I went to Panama and got stem cells, and I did fecal transplants, and I took every vitamin known to man, and the only thing they eat is organic, pure food. I test those kids' genetics, and 9 times out of 10, there's a genetic abnormality, which may be treatable. So that's where I would go, Jesse. Maria, I sent you an email with genetic results for my son. Please look into it. Yes, Maria, make sure you sent that to customer service at spectrumawakening.com, and I will follow up on those. My team forwards me those emails that I need to look at, so I'll take a double check. Babu, my kid has a speech. However, two-way communication and answering questions is a big challenge. How to address it? Same way. Speech is not a light switch. It's a continuum, okay? And if you've got other siblings who are neurotypical, how did their language develop? Think about that, okay? It started with echolalia. Mama, mama, dada, dada, no, no, okay? Starts with echolalia, and then it moves to scripting. It moves to phrases, okay? Hi, how are you? Good, how are you? All right? Then it moves into conversation. So it sounds like you're on the way, but you're just not there. But you're going to do the same thing. So Babu, if you haven't, I know you've been on Facebook Lives before. If you haven't tried Skowron Solution, try that. Diane, does glutamate have to be 0? No. There's a balance, okay? But high glutamate will cause those hyperactivity symptoms. So we need it at a normal range. We need all these body parts moving at a normal range. Just like a car, it needs some accelerator and some brake, but not too much of each. Jesse says, I will say high-dose melatonin has been helping us in all areas. I think possible the serotonin production. No, it's not. Serotonin makes melatonin. It doesn't reverse. That I'm aware of. But I love that it's helping. Hey, sleep, huh? Sleep is beautiful. I was trying to get, but I started taking some melatonin myself just because the part of the brain that makes melatonin starts to calcify at around age 45. And so you tend to get these sleep issues, and I've stopped dreaming, or I stopped remembering my dreams, so I started taking melatonin to see if I can remember. Am I talking really fast today? Rodney said, I did that 19 years ago. It's not that bad. I'm not sure what he means. I don't know if it was fecal transplant, Rodney, but we'll just let that one simmer. Omo, can we test for brain chemistry? Yes, through the urine. Rahila, what's the name of the test? There is no name of the test. You're basically just testing each neurotransmitter. So if I want to test dopamine, I do a dopamine test. If I want to test adrenaline, I do an adrenaline test. GABA, I do a GABA test. So it's just the individual names of the neurotransmitters. Excuse me. Alyssa, good morning from New Mexico. Alyssa, I got to say this. New Mexico is one of the few states I haven't been to, and I really want to go. Kaisia, is the goal of no glutamate or low glutamate good? Yes, because it's less hyperactivity. Alyssa said B vitamins were a game changer for my daughter's anxiety and aggression. She definitely needs them, and a lot of people do, okay? But again, a lot of people need them, but get the side effects, and that's where this anger management supplement's been created. Amanda, what do you think of beef liver from multivitamins? If it's organic. If it's organic, because the liver is going to store a lot of toxins. Make it organic. Karen said she loves anger management. Thank you. I'm glad you do. Diane, super serotonin saved my son sleeping through the... Since he took super serotonin, he sleeps 10 hours a night while he was sleeping just 1 hour every night. Wow, Diane. Having a child who never slept the night for 7 years, I feel it. Kim says serotonin works for our boy Armando. How you doing, man? Anger management is the best. Jesse says if you supplement serotonin, will the body stop making it on its own? No, it will not. It'll keep doing it. Now, Jeannie, I'm glad Jeannie brought this up. Not for us. Serotonin seemed to make my 7-year-old hyper, so we stopped it. Okay. Yes. Not every supplement, not every medication works for everyone. That's why working with autism is very individualized, okay? But every failure gives us more information, Jeannie, all right? So what I am hypothesizing about serotonin side effects is it's indicative of an intestinal infection. Because not only does serotonin improve all this brain stuff that we talked about, it also encourages intestinal movement, okay? So if you've got constipation, if you've got an intestinal infection and you start to move stuff around, you're going to get hurt. It's going to hurt. That's going to cause hyperactivity. Or I have some kids who just cry. I have kids who take serotonin supplements and just cry. If that happens to you, Jeannie, look into things to move the poop out, like our brown log train, or treating intestinal infections like our yeast mold bundle. All right? So serotonin might give your child the opposite reaction. That's just more information for us. Stop that temporarily. Work on constipation, work on gut infection, and go back to serotonin. Alina, does serotonin support have 5-HTP? Yes, that's its major ingredient. Dolly, when do you dose serotonin? Usually before bed, because it will make you tired. However, there are some kids that I've seen that are so hyper, parents give it in the morning. They're like, yeah, shh, quiet now. So you can do it both. Just watch for the sleeplessness. Or excuse me, watch for the sleep. Okay? Or if you give it during the day and your child gets cranky, maybe it's because they're so tired, but they don't want to fall asleep, or and you're tired, but you can't, kind of thing. Karen, why would my son be so sad in the morning right after using serotonin? Yes, this is exactly what we just talked about. Work on constipation, work on gut infections. Keisha, we've been using HTP for a while, but you recently mentioned it could cause headaches which he does get. Could it be making the headaches worse? It's possible, Keisha, but again, I would just go to this, work on constipation, work on gut infection. Lena, have you heard of fluoxetine decreasing inflammatory markers? I've heard they used it in COVID patients. I've heard of psychiatrists using it in PANS as well. So, Lena's talking about antidepressants, SSRIs, that can potentially decrease inflammation. And I have heard of this. However, there's so many better ways to decrease inflammation than with serotonin medications, especially when we look into the side effects of serotonin medications and the side effects of our psych drugs, one of them being suicidal ideations in children. And if your child can't talk, how can they tell you that they're sad? And so there's too many better ways to decrease inflammation, such as our curcumes or omegas. Roseanne, any chance some of these may work for my 91-year-old dad with dementia? Roseanne, great question. I would do this. Number one, detox, 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 detox. Detox. Okay? Try some of our alpha-lipoic acid. And we're launching a brand new supplement. I can't say it. It's supposed to be, we're doing a quiet launch of a new detox supplement. We're going to be talking about it in our detox podcast. However, if you're on our other Facebook page, which is Spectrum Awakening Families, it's kind of like a group page just to bounce around ideas, a smaller page. We're going to be releasing a new fulvic acid detox supplement. And it's going to be on that page. So join that page if you want to hear more about it. But go with detox with your dad. You could also try folinic acid, but detox. I've had people recover from Alzheimer's with strong detox. Janera, what's the difference between Power and Focus and superfolinic acid? All right, superfolinic acid has folinic acid and a few vitamins to encourage absorption. Power and Focus has all those things of our folinic acid powder and more. So, do you need both? I don't think you need both. Alyssa, mTOR. I like mTOR. mTOR gene mutations. Are these kids prone to deficiencies? So, yeah, I'm a big fan of mTOR. In fact, one of our first supplements, when Spectrum Awakening started, Spectrum Awakening is about to turn 10 years old. We're having our 10th anniversary next month. It's going to be a combo party. 10th anniversary of Spectrum Awakening and my 50th. So we're going to combine those. But when we launched, we had 3 supplements. We had Power and Focus, we had Calm and Cool, and we had a supplement called Trehalose. Trehalose is a disaccharide, which is used in baking, that improves what happens with those with mTOR deficiencies and mTOR mutations. Okay, so go on Amazon or go to a baking store and look for Trehalose, Trehalose. I even did a baby research study in my office. We gave kids Trehalose for 45 days, and there was 15% improvement on the ATEC. Not bad. Ka, what is folinic acid or B vitamins? Why does folinic acid or B vitamins generally aggravate OCD? Because it increases all brain chemicals, including adrenaline. Julie, our nonverbal son, we use Mitomax and just started Power and Focus based on one of your recent presentations. Julie, tell us how it works. Like these other moms, I love this. I love these stories, and we need to encourage other families to try something. Michael, if you test negative on the FRAT test, should you still take folinic acid? Yes. Let me unwrap that. FRAT test is a test that looks for an autoimmune attack against the folate receptor. Now, the folate receptor is the chaperone that brings folate from the intestines to the bloodstream and from the bloodstream to the brain. And many kids with autism have an autoimmune attack on that. You could still benefit from folinic acid even if you don't have that autoimmune attack on the receptor. So, Michael, I would try 1 bottle. If it helps, keep using it. If it doesn't help, you tried it. Kaisia, does folinic acid cause kids to be hyper, which we talked about? Use anger management. Lena, how do you prevent the hyperactivity when on folinic acid? Anger management. Alyssa, my daughter is 9, started communicating and talking functionally this year. There's hope. Don't stop trying things till you find what your kid needs. Alyssa, thank you. That's the message I want to spread. Katie's on as well. Jesse, everybody's talking with each other. I love that. Julie, our nonverbal son takes Mitomax. Should we start super serotonin and folinic acid? What's the difference between folate and folinic acid? All right, Julie, I would do this. You just started Power and Focus, you're taking Mitomax. Add super serotonin, okay? Now, what's the difference between folate and folinic acid? This is a great question. I've got a baby mini course on it, which is free. I've got to hook that up with our website so you can watch that. Basically, folate is the food source of folic acid. Folic acid is a chemically created form. So folate and folic acid, very similar. In the body, they get turned into folinic acid, which then goes through the MTHFR gene to become methylfolate. Folinic acid seems to be the most effective one I've seen clinically. Many of our products like Power and Focus is a combo of 80% folinic and 20% methylfolate, but that's the difference. All right, a lot of great questions today, everybody. Thank you. Lena, I give my son theanine and lithium and CBD. I've also given GABA, but nothing helps with hyperactivity. You got to look at the gut, Lena. Look for an intestinal infection. Julie, nothing seems to be working for speech, but we've noticed a difference when he doesn't take his Mitomax. Okay, that's something. That's good. Julie, have you done genetics yet? Alyssa, B vitamins, thiamine, and specific help tremendously. Supporting mitochondria at the perfect dose. It was trial and error. It is. It's a lot of trial and error, everybody. And we are going to have a mitochondrial podcast, part of this mini-series. So we'll get there, talking about how thiamine, specifically the benfotiamine form, can be really good for our kids. Kaisia, nutrition we know is important. Kids who don't want to eat the things that will help lower glutamate, can supplements without diet change work as well? Yes, for sure. For sure. You can use supplements without the diet changes and see benefits. Definitely. Deborah, loss of all emotion and motivation caused by antipsychotics that are forced on our kids. I don't know what the question is, Deb, but I agree with you. Yes, if you're on antipsychotics like risperidone, you're going to turn your kid into a zombie. I mean, these are basically pharmaceutical straitjackets. I don't see how they're helping our children with their development. It may help them prevent them from hurting themselves or others, and that's great, but you're just zombieing the kid out, shoving him in the corner. And that's not helping kids. It just makes me sad. Dolly, what do we test for brain chemistry? Is it in the O test? No. Sorry, I got really excited about that. Brain chemistry analysis is not in the O test. What is in the O test are brain chemical metabolites, which I do not think are as accurate. Let me explain. There is no time. Let me sum up. Our brain takes food, proteins, tyrosine, tryptophan, GABA, turns them into brain chemicals, they do their thing. Boom. And then they leave the body. As they're leaving their body, they're changing form. They're changing form. It's kind of like I'm going to throw stuff out in the recycling bin, but I'm going to kind of break down all my cardboard. I'm going to make stuff as portable as possible before I dispose of it. That's what happens. These brain chemicals turn into organic acids that we urinate out. So the OAT test, the organic acid test, looks at the metabolites, kind of that changed form, not actually brain chemical levels. Their report seems to suggest that they are, which I think is a little misleading because it'll say serotonin, but it's not real serotonin levels. It'll say dopamine, but it's not real dopamine levels. It's the organic acid metabolite. And those can be different based on genetics. Lena, other people, we're talking about lack of motivation. That's where you need that attention supplement. If you got lack of motivation and you're not on risperidone or other psych meds, try the attention on the double. That's the chemical of motivation. That's the supplement for dopamine, Megan just asked. Taisha, can glutamate levels be lowered with just supplementation? Yes. And no diet? Yep. Carrie, irritable, angry 12-year-old, already on Prozac. Okay, here we go, Carrie. Oh, the preteen years. I got one myself. I got an 11-year-old. Oh, yeah. So, I'm going to say one word. Hold on, let me look for it. Not look for the word, look for the supplement. I got 75 supplements in our line, and I thought I could put them all on one desk. No, I can't find that. All right, I don't seem to have it. What do I do in alfalfa? All right, there is a supplement that we have called pregnenolone. Pregnenolone. Please, if you have puberty, preteen, try pregnenolone for the behaviors. Again, 30-day return policy. It has to do with cortisol. I'm going to talk about this in a hormone podcast, but it has to do with cortisol getting decreased because of hormone production of puberty. Please try pregnenolone. I love it. Alyssa, I agree. My daughter hates ABA, and she will not hesitate to tell us. I don't think it was beneficial for my daughter. It only made things worse. Tell you, ABA, it's a love-hate sort of thing. I've got no recommendations other than do what works for your kid, but man, it's all over the place. All right, I've only got a couple minutes left. Lot of great live questions, which I love, but we try to cap it at an hour. Janera, what's the urine neurotransmitter test you recommend? Again, I just use Quest or LabCorp. So burpy today. Is there a blood draw option? There is, but I find the urine more accurate. Yesenia, this live is literally made for right now. It's been researching glutathione, folate, and GABA the past few weeks, and the hyperactivity had me questioning it. Thank you so much for explaining this. You are welcome, Yesenia. This is why I'm here. I'm here to help your kids. What I need from you guys, spread the word. Like it, share it, subscribe it. Get it to some other family to help them. Said gene FBX011. I believe that's an F-box gene. I don't know all 20,000 genes, but I'm working on it. I believe that's an F-box gene, and I don't think there's any treatment that I have for it. Boy, I'm kicking this ring light today. Kim, are all brain chemical supplements taken the same time together? All of them together except for the serotonin. Bella, good morning from Carlsbad. Will the 4 supplements help with behaviors dealing with puberty? Yes, but please try the pregnenolone. Hormones changes in these kids. Thank you again. See you in October. October Taka. We will be there. Can I give GABA? This is Pia with the superflinic acid. Yep. In replacement of the other 3? I don't know. Pia's asking if she can give GABA and superflinic acid and not give anger management, super serotonin, and attention on the double. It will not do the same thing. You can try and see what happens, but it will not do the same thing. Yesenia, can I mix crush 3 supplements? Yep. Should you integrate them in slowly? It doesn't matter. Just get them in. Get them in. Amanda, where are you located? I'm in Connecticut. You're in Michigan. It's cold there. But again, I have telemedicine, so we're on your phone. We're on your computer. Okay? I'm right here, and we're going to help. Sherry, can you give more than 1 teaspoon of Power and Focus? Yes. Yes, you can take as much as you want. Jessica, if a child has PANS or PANDAS due to strep, possible staph, and triggered by COVID, what test would you recommend most? Would oats be helpful? Oh, Jess, I don't know. There's no good tests for PANDAS and PANS. And yeah, there are tests, but I don't find anything that's really, really beneficial besides just pushing through the treatment. Okay? So, I don't know. I don't know what test would be helpful. And yeah, there's the Cunningham, but there's nothing great. There's nothing great. Would the oat test help? I don't know. Gracie, we're from California. How can we contact you for a consultation? Our website. Okay, I'll answer one more question. I'll give you our website and talk about that. Elena, I'm going to wrap up on Elena's question. 5-HTP makes my daughter happy and excited. Great! Opposite of drowsy. Does that tell you anything about her neurotransmitter imbalances? No, but it tells me that she does really well on serotonin, and it should make you happy and excited. Maybe you're at a dose where you're getting the happy and excitement, but you're not getting the melatonin production enough. Or she may just uniquely have this genetic inability to convert serotonin to melatonin, or it's a very slow conversion. So if it makes her happy and excited, give it in the morning, all right? Just adapt whatever for your kid, all right? There's a lot out there that can help. We make a lot of stuff that can help. Nothing helps everyone, so try it and adapt it for your child. That's what matters. What matters is you do something that helps your kid, and that's it, okay? Other things will help other kids. Other things will help yours. Other things will help theirs. Try. All I can say is try. All right, let's wrap up here because it's been an hour. Time flies with these. I love them. Autism. Hey, yo, we want to help. We want to bring our kids back. We want them to speak. We want them to behave. We want them to be happy. We want them to grow up and be independent because we know we're not going to be here the whole time. How do we do it? First off, if you're new to Spectrum Awakening, thank you for listening. Go back and make sure you listen to all the 2024 podcasts. We're doing this mini-series trying to make a cohesive thought about it all right? The first 2 podcasts were about why we have autism. You're either born with genetic mutations or you had a regression, which in my opinion is from an infection and or toxins that got into the brain. Now, what does that affect medically and how can we help and what symptoms do those cause? This is our third podcast in the mini-series talking about abnormal brain chemistry, which happens both in the kids with genetic issues and regression. And when brain chemistry is off, it's going to affect language, it's going to affect mood, it's going to affect behavior, it's going to affect sleep, it's going to affect, we didn't even get into sensory, which it affects that too. It affects anything the nervous system does. So bringing balance to those chemicals of the brain, the serotonin, the GABA, the glutamate, the dopamine, the folinic acid, is going to help your child in many, many cases. So please, try what we've got. Either try our Power and Focus supplement, which is kind of, hey, I want to do one thing and that's it, or try the Skowron solution. The Skowron solution is the name for these 4 supplements that you can balance individually and adapt for your child. The anger management for the hyperactivity, the serotonin for the mood and the language and the sleep, the folinic acid for the language, and the attention on the double for the focus, the concentration, the motivation. All right? I hope that all helps, guys. And I love, for all of you guys who kind of shouted out how your child has improved, I love those stories. But hey, use the coupon of the weekend. Brain20 is going to get you 20% off anything on our website, spectrumawakening.com. That's vitamins, that's lab tests. If it's there, it's yours. That expires January 21st, 2024. If you want to schedule an appointment, okay, one-on-one video consult, go to our website and click appointments, all right? There's an appointment tab. Bing! Click the appointments. You'll be there. You can book it online. It also has the phone number and email for the clinic that I work at. You can contact them and set it up as well. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for doing everything you can to help your child, because that's what matters. And we will see you next week. Thanks, guys.